Welcome to the 10th chapter with Redey. We will now make a conversation chapter, I guess, because it's going to be long between Regongar and Octavia. Hello, Octavia smiles at you flirtatiously. Got any good news? Could you tell me about your childhood, please? Too little, some scraps of memories, no more than that. Octavia sighs. What exactly do you remember? Octavia reflects on that, tapping her finger against her cheek. Nothing special. Some images of a faraway past, that's all. I do remember wooden table legs. The paint on them was pale enough, and I was standing on my toes, trying to pick at what was on the table. I remember the white rose by the window. It kept me up at night, scratching the glass with its gnarled brown threads. I do remember my mother's blue dress. It was a trifle, battered, but it smelled of lavender. Octavia wrinkles her forehead. I guess that's all. Not much there, right? All those memories, it's like they're not mine at all. I recall some images and I know I should feel something about them. But I don't remember what exactly I should feel. So let them rot in a swamp with tassel worms. Octavia grins cheerfully. My life's good enough without them. What do you know about your parents? I have it right? Am I? Octavia examines herself as if seeing herself for the first time. You know, I think you might be right. I'm rather slim and tall, and I can see well in dim light. She raises her hand and touches her ears. Aha, they're a bit pointy. Yes, I'm definitely a half-elf. Let's think about that logically. So my mother was an elf, and my father was a human. Or maybe it was the other way around, and my mother was a... Finally, Octavia can't take it anymore and bursts into laughter, having spoiled her own act. So that's it. Now you know as much about my parents as I do, she says after her laughter subsides. Do you remember how you were a slave? I clearly remember the man who took me away from my home. He was big, with huge pot belly and saggy beard. I was afraid he would eat me, Octavia shrugs. Anyway, he didn't stay with me long. He gave me to his slave accomplices, and I never saw him again. When my mother was giving me to him, she was crying. I can still barely hear her quiet voice, but I can recall her words or her face behind the tears. Just that lavender smell tickled my nose and I wanted to sneeze. Did my mother sell me into slavery? But then why was she crying? And if she didn't want me to be a slave, why didn't she try to save me? Octavia twirls her hair, pondering over the thought, then sighs. One more riddle from my past that I don't care to solve. It must be horrible, being unable to recall your childhood. Oh, I recall my childhood in rather bright details. It was spent in dirty barracks. I wore flea-infested rags and slept on a straw mattress instead of a proper bed. Octavia smiles humorlessly. So I understand what you mean. You know, to be honest, I'm not sure I want to remember my childhood before slavery. If I could remember what I lost, it would probably just bring me more pain. Octavia shakes her head several times and makes herself smile again. So it's good that I don't remember much of anything. I want to ask you about something else. Of course, what do you want to talk about? Will you tell me about your life in slavery? I don't like to recall it, but if you insist, Octavia frowns. The slavers from the Technical League tried to ruin my life, but all they could do was ruin my childhood. How did you happen to find yourself in the Stolen Lands? My enslavers from the Technical League founded a large expedition into the Stolen Lands. 100 agents, 10 of slaves, wagons. We were to search for some ancient artifacts or ancient ruins. Octavia shrugs. Our group never made it to the Technical League hideout. Along the way, it was attacked by the future owner of the Stolen Lands herself, and I'll be forever grateful to her for it. Octavia winks cheerfully. Did you have many masters over the years? Yes, many of them. Some owned me for years. Others felt they had enough of me in a couple of months. Trust me, I did all I could to make every master eager to get rid of me. A slave that's trained in magic is a rather expensive thing, so they wouldn't kill me. At least that was the hope. So I drooled and plied the idiot. and I listened, and as every new master argued with my former one, trying to return me. Sometimes I punctured pages of magic books I was forced to copy with a quill. Other times I pretended to mix up the spells, so instead of lighting a magic torch, I set dozens of dancing lights floating just below the ceiling. Of course, most of these tricks of mine usually ended badly. I got punished on a regular basis. My back still remembers the master's whips, though all my scars from those times are long gone. Where did you learn to use magic? Oh, I was taught magic by Janus of Starfall, one of the most famous wizards in Numeria. Maestro Janus, as he insisted of calling himself. Octavia's voice overflows with contemptuous sarcasm. Anyone would be happy to learn from such a great master, and only a talentless bitch like me would dare to reject his teachings and indulge in her license. At least that's what Maestro Janus used to repeat constantly, while whipping knowledge into my back. The great Maestro was a big fan of punishment. Octavia's lips pressed into a thin line. The Technic League didn't care if a few slaves died under the master's whip, as long as Maestro Janus provided an arcane trained one in return. Officially, there's no slavery in Numeria, but the Technic League is above any law. A slave with an aptitude for the arcane is worth much more than a regular one. The slave's repertoire is limited to the simplest, safest spells, of course. Have you ever tried to run away? What a silly question. Of course I tried. As soon as we saw even the tiniest opportunity to get free, Reg and I grabbed for it. On one occasion we jumped from the cart into the river. There was a time when we spent weeks trying to dismantle the far wall of the barracks and make a path out. Sometimes we attacked our guards when they least expected it. We craved freedom, we lived only to dream about it. Those short days, sometimes weeks, that we spent on the run were the happiest days of my life. We used to hide in the woods, or blend in with the crowd on the streets of Starfall. Midnight stars were our guiding lights, and we shared our dream with them, to reach the River Kingdoms, for in these lands there were neither slaves nor masters. We were starving and freezing, but that was the real life. Too bad it usually ended too soon. The Technic League agents always found us in the end. I don't know how they managed to do it. They probably used magic, or maybe it was just our fate. They whipped us and returned us to our old masters, or sold us to new ones. The old ones refused to pay. So we were slaves again, but the dream about the River Kingdoms never left our hearts. Have your masters ever hurt you? But she has said already so. You figured that out, didn't you? Octavia narrows her eyes. Or maybe you wanted to hear all about the beatings I survived, the humiliations I've endured. Imagine the worst thing one person can do to another, and multiply it tenfold. That's what happened to me nearly every day in slavery. Masters, oh how I hate that word. Octavia shakes her head furiously, making her locks dance. They punished me because they wanted to hurt me, but what hurt even more was the mere fact of their existence. Let's talk about something else. Octavia stops you, gently touching your hand. Wait, I want to tell you, she sighs and shakes her head, as if trying to collect her thoughts. The Technical League agents you rescued us from, Reg and I tried to run away many times, but they always managed to find us eventually. I have no reason to hope that this time they've lost track of us for. I won't let those filthy slave traders to take you again, so let them try. That's the most in line with Redey answer. Yes, we'll chase them into the border. We won't see them through the dust. Suddenly there's a frown in contemplation, pulling her locks. Still, I'd like to find them first. What kind of relationship do you have with Regongar? Octavia looks awkwardly. We're together, she answers simply. The way you said we're together sounded unconvincing. Is something wrong? You have noticed? Well, I didn't mean that. No, I'll have to explain. Octavia shakes her head. I'm not sure I know how to put it correctly. You see, Reg seems to treat me like his property. He's always kind to me, and it feels good when we travel together, or when we share a blanket at the campsite. But he always calls me my Octavia. I've told him over and over that I don't belong to anyone, that I'm my own, that I stay with him by my own free will. He only grins when I say that. I bet he likes to think that he and the dime is. Never mind though, I'll sort it out somehow. Octavia shakes her head, making the troubling thoughts go away. When did you meet Greg? Years ago, when I was studying magic at Maestro Janus's. Greg was his student too, so you couldn't actually say he was really studying anything. Greg had his own ways to cast spells. He never needed the Maestro's instructions. You see, unlike wizards, Greg draws power directly from his innate bloodline abilities. Janus didn't realize the nature of Greg's powers when he took the young boy as his new student, and when he finally understood them, he just taught the negligent half-orc to control his powers to avoid harming himself or the others. Greg and I have been together ever since. We could both use magic, but more importantly, we both craved freedom. We used to vow to each other that someday we'd break free from the unbearable captivity or die trying, together. Octavia gives you a warm smile. I guess it's good that we fulfilled only the first part of that vow. The fact that Reg is so impulsive doesn't bother you? That is a very delicate matter. Octavia winces, looking away. Reg means a lot to me, and he endured a lot for me, but some parts of him just scare me. He becomes extremely bloodthirsty when it comes to slavers. Don't get me wrong, I hate slavers with all my heart, and I'll do a lot to cleanse the world of their filth. But Reg, he'd do anything, understand? Absolutely anything. I'm afraid that anger might kill everything good in him. I've attempted to talk to him about it many times, but he just won't listen. He becomes even angrier after our conversations. Octavia 6. Subtly. You owe him much? Octavia winces. I don't like this word. I don't owe anything to anybody. Everything I do of my own free will. But to answer your question, yes, Greg has done a lot for me. I can't count how many times he was whipped by masters because of me. How many times he took the blame for my doings. He never complained when they dragged him, beaten and covered in blood, to the slaves' barracks. He just groaned and clenched his fists while I bandaged his wounds with the scraps of my filthy clothing. We've always been together my whole life, as slaves and as free people. I wouldn't be me if not for him. You worship Calistria, right? Yes, many slaves survived only thanks to their faith. Some lived hoping for a day when a good deity would deliver them. Some even offered deals to the evil gods. But me and Reg, Calistria has taught us the most important things. Expect no gifts from above. Rely only on yourselves. Never forgive those who wronged us. But at the same time, savor every droplet of pleasure we could squeeze from our bleak days. It's amazing how after all your hardships, you still remain so cheerful and optimistic. Octavia's smile fades a little. I try not to view myself as a never-ending course of sufferings. Yes, I've had my share of hard times, but do I need to recall them? After all, along with the bad things, I had some good things as well. I had a dream and I followed it, and eventually it came true. Following that path, I met Reg and you. Now I'm free and surrounded by friends. Octavia's voice trembles. Why do you need to find the Technical League agents? I broke free from slavery. Thanks to you, I've obtained everything I dreamed of. My freedom and the opportunity to control my own life. I want to use this opportunity to fight the Technical League, at least the part of it that operates here in the Stolen Lands. I wish to free all the slaves from their Technical League masters. Octavia gives you a warm smile and gently touches your hand. I do believe that while we're together we can achieve a lot, even this. Alright, we'll talk later. Sure, Octavia gives you a friendly smile. Come anytime. We'll get Regongar done and that's it. What do you want? Have a little chat? Alright. It's not like we have anything better to do. Tell me about yourself. We'll also a bit downstairs. What is there to know? I was born. I am alive, haven't died yet. That enough for you? Do you remember your childhood? We have to deliver a quest downstairs. Regongar scowls. What a crap's question. I was just a kid when they shot me. Before that I don't remember much. Smoky fires. Stinky hides, always bumping along on a horse. I think I was born in one of the current tribes of Numeria. There are many. Some survive on their own, some gave up their pride and served the Technical League. I guess mine was one of the cowards if they saw their own kids. I remember my father's hands, rough, scarred, white, so I guess I get this green skin from my mother. But I don't remember her. I think I remember playing with another half-orc child. A brother maybe. For some reason they didn't sell him, just me. Father gave him his dagger to play with. Never gave it to me. I don't even want to remember. Forget all this. I'm an orphan. Regongar waves his hand wryly. I grew up a slave. That I remember well. So many things bound into my memory. Most of all I remember her, Octavia. Today we are almost the same age, but back then she was twice as young as me. Just a child, but a brave one, cunning, bold, beautiful, the most beautiful girl in the world. What deity do you worship? I never got much help from the ghosts so far. But if you make me choose, I'd say Calistri. Who else would I worship? The savoured sting, the goddess of pleasure, fun, and revenge. Oh yes. Where did you get the magical powers? What magical powers? The hell are you talking about? Oh, you mean this? Regongar makes lightning run over his hands with a contented smile, then snaps his fingers, invoking a shower of blinding sparks. I've had them since I was born. At least one thing I can thank my scum parents for. Maybe these powers are why they sold me to slavery. Think they were scared? Who knows? Damn Numerians. At the Technical League they drew my blood, did experiments, burned me with fire, tortured me with cold electricity. And they told me, you won't believe it, they told me I have blue dragon blood in my veins. Not bad, huh? I'm a dragon, you freaks. Come check my blood if you dare. Grinning, Regongar strikes his palm with a fist, and another fountain of electric sparks shoots upwards. What do your tattoos mean? They are magical. They help me control my powers. The Technical League gave them to me. I'd hoped that somewhere on my body there was at least one sign left of my tribe, but no. I guess they didn't care to bother. To hell with them. They better hope I never find them. If I ever meet my father, I will even discord between us. How do you manage to use both a sword and magic and not cut off your fingers? Something that will be of big interest, or for great interest to Redey, as she's fought with weapons before, and she's not yet with such amount of spells that she can forgo the use of weapons. Ha ha ha! Simple. I'm just that bloody god. Halford gives a contented grin. Do you enjoy making people suffer? That seems a bit... But saying that anyway. Why would I care about their suffering? I do what I want. If I step on someone's toes, then they shouldn't have put themselves in my way. But chasing someone down just to torture them, that's only entertainment for maniacs like the Technical League. Well, on second thought, for them I would make an exception. I'd love to watch as I fight them nice and slow. But why do you ask? Do my methods shock you? Regongar clenches his fist, buzzing with the sparks, and laughs loudly at his talk. Well, here I'm not sure what would be Redey. In one hand, the lawful neutral has the first half right. So long as you are in my party, try to control yourself, she would say that, because she wouldn't want problems with authorities or people that is not enemy. But adding I don't like meaningless atrocities would imply that she expects him to be such kind of person, and that would be very insulting to him. She wouldn't go out and say something like that. Then she could go with the humor of the joke and go very amusing. But the other is not quite good by her. But then again we are in the trading post, where downstairs just outside, the undead lady is training or doing her things, and would be some of pull towards the evil. And so I think that in order to, so that she wouldn't also want to antagonize this half-orc too much, she will go with the joke. Very amusing. Ah, and you're right, if someone gets in your way, it's their own fault. That's what I say. There's too many freaks who don't understand just asking to be run through with a sword. Sometimes I'm casting a spell, looking at another fool, thinking, "You idiot, what the hell are you doing? You'd still be alive if you weren't standing in my way. None of this had to happen." And then, bam, they're dead. And I have to clean some more blood from my shirt. And I've not performed any action, I've spoken some words. Thanks for don't feel a pause. I'm just kidding. Tell me about your life in Numeria. You mean my life as a slave? I didn't see much except for the slave barracks and the lake's twisted laboratories. How did you happen to become a slave? I was sold by my own tribe when I was just a little brat. The half-orc clenches his teeth, then spits on the ground and steps on it with his boot. So I grew up in a slave barracks. I was raised to be sold like a battle animal. They tried to break me, but they picked the wrong brat. No matter how much you beat this animal, he only gets angrier. The half-orc punches himself in the chest and snarls. Why did your master teach you magic? But she already knows. Can't you guess? Because magic is in my blood. It's why they bought me. I wasn't raised as some lowly mob slave, but as a murder machine. I'd fetch quite a nice sum of gold. You might also ask if they knew I'd take the first opportunity to rip their own guts out, using everything they taught me. Of course they did. But that's technically they calculate risk. Octavia kept pretending to be simple-minded, so they wouldn't expect anything of her. But I made every effort, though they didn't teach me much. What is there to teach? It's not book magic, it's innate. They made me practice with my sword more, but I did my best in everything. Studied all I could. They knew they were raising an enemy, but they thought they could help me on a short leash. Sell me to someone with the pockets, but I'd become someone else's problem. But who won in the end, huh? Who's free? Who will bury them all? The half-orc makes an obscene gesture in the northwestern direction towards the area. What else did you see beyond your life in chains? What I could have seen. Well, when we ran, we went through Starfall. That's a fine city, big, loud, many merchants, things to see, things to steal. But I didn't have much chance to walk around. It's the very nest of the Shooting Technique League. We were focused more on getting out alive. We met some barbarians. I asked them who might know what tribe I'm from, but they didn't know anything. I don't have any tribal tattoos, nothing. Actually, they are all right. Well, some of them. The blood guards for one, they're great. All the ravers are theirs. Side with them during one of our escapes almost all the way to Brevoy, and they didn't turn us in. The white scars got us after that. Those guys are shit. They've sold their pride to the Technic League. Oh, one more thing. One time Octavia and I tried to escape and stumbled across a Numerian monster. I'll never forget it. A huge spider the size of a house, made of metal, spitting fire, shooting deadly rays all around. That thing could probably tear even our dragon to pieces. Ruined our escape plans too. We had to go back. Did you and Octavia try to escape? That's already known. From Octavia, it would be stupid to ask that, and it's slavery legal in Numeria is also kind of stupid because Octavia has also spoken about that. Thanks for your answers. Let's go away. What kind of relationship do you have with Octavia? Well, my Octavia and I don't have a relationship, we have a life together. How did you meet? Let's check Octavia's version. We thought no doubt about her truthfulness. Back when we were our children, we were taken as apprentices by a great spellmaster, Janus. Maestro Janus, he called himself. He was our teacher. Well, he made Octavia read books and memorize spells. I have my own night of magic. He trained me a bit, taught how to control my gifts, so I wouldn't lose control and incinerate myself like a dumbass. Oh, teacher, We will meet again. There's one more test I must pass. But you were asking about my Octavia. We've been together all our lives. We learned everything together. How to wave magic, how to survive. And as we grew older, we learned how to love. Without each other, we would never have gotten out of there. That's for sure. We would have given up and surrendered to death. But together, that's a very different story. Not the first time, and not the 10th, but eventually, we made it out. Why do you call her yours? She doesn't seem to like that very much. My girl loves freedom so much, and the Venus-like sense of losing it frightens her. She is so smart. You really think she feels like I'm trying to make her mine? Like an apple stolen at a market. Me, who was skinned alive for trying to help her escape. If she's afraid of the word my, it's because she doesn't understand the difference between my boots and my heart. But she will understand sooner or later. Are you and Octavia faithful to each other? Octavia and I are connected, and this connection cannot be broken. We grow into each other. You know, jealousies for weak cowards who don't trust each other and are scared of being tricked. If a knight on the side threatens your love, that just means there was no real love there to begin with. She and I are together to the end, and we will never part from each other. So when she likes some lad or some lass, it's no drama to me. I used to ask her whether she wants me to leave them alone or join us. And she does the same, ha ha ha. What, are you judging us? Or maybe you just want to join in our tent? Half-orc grins. Well, since in the previews I decided to go with the chaotic evil because of the celebrating the yoke and not wanting to be against his will as a show of respect and not wanting to be to him like one more who wants to be like a master over him, correcting him and reprimanding him, then I go along with the joking. Is that an invitation? Well, then maybe I will. Is that so? Haha. Regongar measures you with an apparently lustful look. Sorry. I will think about it. What did you say when you were killing Kalana? What? Oh, that. Calistria's holy words. I stabbed thee with my heart. Beside that, when we get our vengeance. Those words will make it so much sweeter. I have to go. So long, if you want to know anything else, just ask. Don't be shy. Just don't go pale when I answer. Hey. So now it is time to go downstairs and hand out the quest about Kressel. Prove your word, that is the Tusker mission, and again the Tusker says twice for some reason. I guess there's a chance you would not have a meeting with you. Svetlana greets you warmly. Good day to you. You need anything? I'd be happy to help. I found your ring, Svetlana. Kressel, the bandit woman who had it, tried to kill me and died in the fight. And that will have consequences later. Svetlana sighs bitterly. I suppose I should tell you the truth about her. Kressel wasn't her real name. Her real name was Irena, before all this. She was the daughter of my mother and her second husband, my half-sister. I can't help but feel like everything that happened to her was my fault. She always had a wildness to her. She'd wander the streets hanging out with a bad crowd, until the day she passed. Mother complained about Irena constantly. Back then, it was just cruel games and strange escapades. She never hurt anyone back in Kristov. Her father didn't live much longer than our mother, so I decided to try to help Irena. I brought her here to the stolen lands. The Oleg was against it, and once her, she immediately fell under the Stag Lord's influence. She never even needed to meet him. The stories and rumors from local hunters and bandits were enough to win her over. She would tell us how he was a real leader, unlike the rest of softies. Eventually, she ran away, only to return under a new name, with a pack of dogs to collect taxes from us. What's worse, she participated in the torture and execution of prisoners alongside the Stag Lord's minions. And now, meeting such an end, I realize you did what you had to do. Perhaps it's all for the best, but still, I wonder if everything could have turned out differently. Svetlana lifts her head. Thank you for returning my ring to me. I truly appreciate it. Now, if you don't mind, I think I'd like to be alone for a little while. Then rations and camping supplies received, that's good. And now out for some shopping. After seeing that we are close to next level. Poking for potions. First thing, selling everything that is not useful. But we need to check, for example, the torches are needed. Masterwork, Master Sword, I think the knight already has that. Forgot Valerie has that already. One set of each type, so we recruit someone new. We have something for him or her. And one composite bow, short bow, and long bow, if possible. And armor, no, let the armors be whatever is wearing the new recruit. We are good with bomb style potions, and we could use with some more healing or more strong than light wounds. So some pure moderate wounds, but we don't have more than for something like 5 or so. Yeah, 5. And now to the other that perhaps we could have come here first to see prices, because it might happen that it would have been worth it to buy something from her. And that is this lesser rich metamagic rock. This rod grants its wielder the ability to make up to 3 spells they cast per day, rich as though using the rich spell speed. Lesser rods can be used with spells of 3rd level or lower. You can alter the spell of one order of one range category higher than actualize in the order touch, close, medium and long. Still, before buying everything out pocket, we wouldn't have had enough gold for that before. So nothing lost in that regard. Until the next, that might be coming soon. Thanks for watching, anybody who has watched. Goodbye.